Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daryl Talks podcast. Today, we've got a local celebrity. We have got the 2 times Sky Arts winner, Joe Beer. So, I want to get straight into this episode because I am so intrigued. So, welcome, Joe.
Hi.
How are you doing? You all right?
I'm really, really good. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you for having me. And in your studio.
Yeah.
Like, how posh does that sound?
Well, it's actually the basement of my home. We can call it a studio.
Look, there's no video evidence. You've got a studio and it's lovely. And there's like art all around.
Yeah.
And it is like, it's just incredible. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Before we start, I just want to go through a few icebreaker questions.
Mm-hmm.
So first question is, if you could have dinner or spend a day with 3 celebrities, dead or alive, who would they be?
Right. First of all, I would have Russell T Davies.
Sorry, beg my ignorance. Who's that?
He is the genius behind Doctor Who at the moment.
Oh, wow.
It's a Sin.
Yeah.
He's a controversial, sort of edgy writer-producer. But I'd ply him with wine and beautiful food and bribe him to give my son a role in Doctor Who.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I would use him for. Billy Crystal, because I just love him. He's warm. Do you know who Billy Crystal is?
Again, I'm really sorry.
He was in Harry Met Sally, when Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
Actor. Nothing to look at, but he's really hilarious and intelligent and warm, and he'd be a good conversation.
About 10% of that was me then. I thought you were talking about me.
You too, Dylan. You can come. You can come and watch this. And Bruce Springsteen, because I just love him.
Oh,
Just
Bruce
love him.
Springsteen.
Yeah.
There's actually just a documentary come out just about with him.
I've seen it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's amazing. I've been to see him twice at Wembley. But I'd just like to talk to him about his life, which is quite long. He's 75 now.
Is he that old?
Yeah, I know, you wouldn't believe it. He's amazing. He's incredible.
Yeah, I suppose because there's a couple of songs that come to mind, because I wouldn't confess to being a super fan, but Born to Run, that he does, I've always, on every playlist, I've got that song, like live acoustic or something, and it is incredible.
Yeah.
But that he could have done that in probably the late 80s, 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like particularly the things that he's known for, like Born in the USA. I like all of the really tender little songs that he writes, and he's a fantastic storyteller. It's just amazing.
Just amazing.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Love him.
So second question is, what is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song? Oh. Well, I can't sing, so nobody would recognise it anyway. Probably something Stevie Nicks, Landslide.
Oh, okay. Nice. Bit of country. Country's come back in now with the likes of Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs.
Yeah, it has.
And it's reignited my love for it and the old stuff, because my granddad brought me up with country music and sort of the John Denver and...
I've got Glenn Campbell here that I play sometimes.
No way.
A bit of painting music.
Yeah. It's just cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But you're not a karaoke fan?
I haven't got the confidence.
Fair enough.
I'd need a skinful to get anywhere near the mic, and then I would just absolutely decimate it and nobody would know what on earth I'm singing. I'll leave that to the pros.
So I'm by no means a pro, but I do love a bit of karaoke after a few tipples.
It's good fun. I like watching other people do it, but I haven't got the self-confidence to do it.
No, fair enough. And third and final question. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I'd think myself thin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's such a clever answer.
If there was such a thing, not skinny, but thin.
Yeah.
If it was possible and I could just click my fingers, that or a thyroid gland that works rather than one that doesn't, to be stuck in a fat body forever. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Oh, no, that's actually really clever and very practical.
It is practical,
That
isn't
is
it?
practical.
Yeah, I think it should be a thing.
Yeah, sod flying.
I'm scared of heights. Don't like heights. That wouldn't do for me.
Oh, thank you very much for that. So let's get into it.
I'm a full-time artist. I'm a portrait artist. I've been full-time for the last 8 years. Previous to that, I worked for the NHS for 31 years. I was a phlebotomist, which is the person that takes blood.
I was just thinking, I recognise that word from somewhere, and I think I've seen it on a door somewhere.
Yeah, a phlebotomist vampire, and various other sort of minor health worker parts of that job, sort of healthcare assistant, assist in minor surgery, dressings, that sort of thing.
No, okay. Did you do art the entire way through that?
Yeah, I've always painted. It's my earliest recollection is drawing and painting. And I always thought that was what I wanted to do. I just always wanted to be an artist, but it's really difficult to earn money being an artist. So I've sort of had jobs. I've always considered myself an artist and a part-time phlebotomist.
Yeah.
Rather than a phlebotomist and part-time artist, because that gives a picture of a hobby artist. And I wasn't. I've been deadly serious about it all my life, since my teens.
No, that's really good, because obviously from my world, I'd say I'm a podcaster, but I've also got a full-time job. So it's very similar. And so when did you move to Saltash?
1977.
Oh, wow. So you've been in Saltash longer than I have.
A long time. Yeah.
Was that school in Saltash?
Yes. Yeah. I lived at Hemerdon. I often say we rather than I, because I've got a twin sister. I've got 3 sisters, but I've got a twin. So me and my twin, we moved here when we were 7. Before that, we lived in Hemerdon, which is out on the moors. It's now a big hole in the ground with a tungsten mine.
Yeah, no, I know it very well in my field of work.
Yeah.
And so did you go Saltash Secondary?
Yeah, Saltash Comp as it was at the time.
Oh, so I interviewed Mrs. Renfrey.
Oh, right.
And she joined Saltash Secondary. I can't remember what it was called then. I'm sure it's 1979. So she might have been there when you were there.
Yeah, she taught me.
Oh, really?
Or tried. She attempted. I was an enormous source of frustration for her. I'm ever so sorry, and I apologise if she's ever going to listen to this. Yeah,
she is a listener, actually. Yeah. So what were you like at school? Was it like...
Rubbish.
You were rubbish?
Rubbish at virtually everything but art and history and English. Everything else, all of the spiky numbers business, the maths. I think I've got dyscalculia. I think I've got number dyslexia, whatever it is called, because I'm total klutz when it comes to anything like that and all the sciences. But I excelled at art. It was the only thing I was any good at.
Like creativity stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that you could use the mind rather than the brain,
English
if that makes sense.
Way. Yeah.
Don't mean that in a nasty way, but...
Yeah. And biology, weirdly, because it's more visual. You study things, you look at things intricately.
Yeah.
And the patterns within something, which I was able to process, I guess.
Yeah. So I always find it interesting. The reason I ask about school days is because I like to see how it progresses into such a cool profession. To see whether there is anything in there at the beginning that's sort of like, like a little seed that sort of ends up growing. I'm getting a bit weird now. So you were good at the creativity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do A-levels or?
Yeah, I did art A-level. I started doing history A-level with it, but got bored. And weirdly, they let me stay on and just do one A-level. They wouldn't do that these days. You have to have a minimum of decent subjects to put the hours in. I think it's like 2 or 3, isn't it? Yeah. So that's what I did. And I was with a view to going to Falmouth School of Art to do fashion design. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, fashion at that time.
Yeah. And I went and had the interview and was offered a place, but only with 4 days to go before the term started. And in those days, we had a grant system and you could apply for a grant, which would see you through your accommodation and the course fees. And I hadn't, because I was only told 4 days before the term started, I didn't have the time to arrange anything, and my parents didn't have the funds to help me with that. So I had to turn it down. It absolutely
such a shame.
broke my heart, because I just thought I was just blinkered. That's what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do that. And suddenly I thought, there was nothing. I've got nothing.
What am I going to do?
Nothing else. Absolutely nothing.
Especially at that age as well. You
Yeah.
know, there isn't you set your hopes on something.
Yeah, I was so focused on it and just assumed, that's it. You know, it's going to fall into my lap.
Yeah. So what did you do instead?
Worked in an old people's home for a couple of years, and then got a job in a doctor's surgery in Plymouth, where I stayed for 21 years.
Oh my goodness.
And then left there and came to Portview Surgery in Saltash, where I stayed until 8 years ago.
So what kept you there for that long, that amount of time?
I love people. I loved hearing, that's something that I miss now, is the people and their stories, hearing their life stories every day. And you get to know people quite well.
I know a certain podcast that might tickle your fancy then, because the Daryl Talks podcast shares stories every single day.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're fascinated in people just in the same way that I am.
Exactly.
We just go about it in different ways.
Absolutely.
So I miss that, because being an artist is quite a solitary job. As lovely and calming as it is sat in this studio with just my music and my candles burning, I miss that contact. I miss finding out about
what's going on.
People's family dramas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I guess in those professions, it's a bit like going to the hairdressers or, I don't know, all those sorts of jobs where you have like hairdresser questions where you just...
Where are you going on holiday?
Yeah, where are you going? What's going on?
Yeah, it's nice that they would come in and offload and verbal diarrhea sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
And then you sort them out and off they go, and they feel better for offloading.
Yeah, and you're basically a sponge for it. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting that sort of job, actually. Because I'm sure it's not all rainbows and...
No, and sometimes it's really hard work. And especially now, I'm glad I'm not working there now. I think it's a whole different pressure these days.
Yeah, I think just with everything, all those jobs, it must be so difficult because they're the face of what's going on. And just like you said about like unleashing their verbal diarrhea, I imagine that more so now there is people releasing their frustrations on things that these people can't control.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing to do with them. Yeah. So whilst during this 21 years, when did you start getting a bit more like traction? And how does one sell an art piece, for example?
It's really difficult to start with because nobody knows who on earth you are. In 1991, I had a joint exhibition with my twin sister in the Theatre Royal.
No way.
Which was okay. We both sold something and it grabbed people's attention. That was portraiture. But I'd always been told people paintings don't sell. And people still ask me now, why do you paint people? Who's going to want to buy a painting of somebody that they don't know? Who's going to want to buy that unless it's other than the actual person that you've painted?
Yeah.
But they're wrong. They do
absolutely
sell. So really, it's a really slow burn. I painted flowers for a long time because I thought that's something that will appeal and sell. And I sold them, but I kept sort of gravitating back to people, painting people. And shortly after the 1991 exhibition, I got my first commission.
Oh, wow.
And it's sort of trickled along since really.
So do you just go through like word of mouth?
I've got a website.
Yeah.
And I sell on various online galleries. like Saatchi and Art Finder. There are various online galleries, and they promote your work internationally. Without them, I wouldn't be able to get people seeing my work in the States. A lot of my work goes to the United States. Yeah, it's all about, after a while, if people see your work enough, they seem to remember it.
Yeah.
And then these days I'll get an email from somebody in America that wants a commission, and I don't know how they've seen me, where they've seen me, or how it's filtered through the ether, but it has somehow.
So would you mind just explaining what a commission is, just in case somebody listening who doesn't know?
Right. So a commission is when somebody wants you to paint something very specific for them.
Okay.
It might be one of their family. It might be somebody that's passed on that they want to remember. It might be something completely bonkers. I get very unusual requests that are very peculiar.
Can you say some of the weirder ones?
Yeah. For example, at the moment, I'm painting a hot nun on a motorbike.
Yeah, and I can see her, and she's beautiful.
In the middle of nowhere, in the middle of America, she's going to have a big stick of candy floss in her hand, and she's on a Vincent Black Shadow motorbike. I've had to paint singer Adele in her Emmy-winning dress, holding a great big yellowfin tuna fish in her arms, with a surprised look on her face.
How? Right. Oh, my goodness.
With Steve Tyler to the side of her. Steve Tyler, lead singer of Aerosmith. And he's wearing a wetsuit that's got palm trees printed all over it and water coming off his face and a diving mask because he's just caught the yellowfish tuna for her.
So somebody wrote that in what, like an email, a letter?
Yeah, I've got a regular customer in Poland who's had 48 paintings from me so far. And he's got a very colourful imagination, and he likes very unusual things. I've had to paint Kate and William in white with a crocodile wearing a Stetson and a lame shimmery suit. Debbie Harry and John Lennon with a polar bear in a bow tie.
Literally.
Lots of...
Has there been anything that somebody's asked you and you've just gone, no?
Yeah, only twice, 2 occasions.
Twice.
One time somebody wanted me to paint somebody in a jacket decorated with swastikas, and I didn't want to do that.
Understandably.
Just didn't want to do that. And another one, somebody that wanted me to paint quite a pornographic scene of himself with 2 other women.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not interested in that.
No, fair
I've got
enough.
nothing wrong with, no problem with nudity. I've done lots of life drawing. I've painted nudes, but not in that sort of smutty context.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in doing it. I don't want to paint that, and I don't want people to see my work and then remember me for painting that.
Your name is on that.
Yeah.
So it's your reputation at the end of the day, isn't it? And it must have taken quite a bit of like balls to sort of say, no, I won't do that. Because it shows that, you know what, I have my own rules. Anything outside of those, you say no.
Yeah. He was quite cross and said, oh, you're a bigger fool, you. I'm offering you a lot of money for that. And I don't care.
Well, no, for somebody who's been...
Got a bit of integrity.
Yes.
I don't want to do that. You give your plenty of money to another artist and get them to do it.
Yeah, because there certainly will be somebody who doesn't, or somebody who specialises in that sort of thing. But I wonder where you would put it. But like, where did you place that sort of art?
Well, I think he's got other pieces of art in a similar...
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's probably got a room or he's just very open to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So how did you start going from just drawing what you've wanted to do to the next step of taking requests?
Well, this particular customer in Poland bought something from me 9 years ago. And for a while, because I was still working in the doctor's surgery, as soon as he decided he wanted to start collecting my work, he was coming at me with requests really, really frequently. So much so that I was having to say, hold on a minute, I can't do any more yet because I'm working.
Yeah.
And this was going on and on and on. And in the end, I said to my husband, this is silly. Why am I telling potential customers to hang on because I'm working? Why don't I just stop working and make more money from my art?
Wow.
So I built up 6 months worth of commissions, and they weren't all from Mr. Poland. They were from other people as well, more local people. And then I handed my notice in. And I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? If it goes tits up, I can go back to taking blood.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been quite big for you.
It was huge.
Because, like you said, was it 31 years?
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's almost my life.
And we still had a mortgage to pay at that time. So it was a risk. And I knew that it was a risk. But I was thinking, I'm getting on. I don't want to be the wrong side of 50 and think, but if only I had done that years ago. The kids were a little bit older, and I just thought it's worth a go.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely
And you've
worth
never
a
looked
go.
back by the look of it.
No, it's just been absolutely fine. There is money to be made from it. You've just got to sort of plug and get your work seen.
Does it ever get tedious, or do you just enjoy every single, because it's so different every time, I guess?
I just love it. Sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating if I've got a run of commissions, because commissions are my bread and butter, and I need them to pay the bills and to earn a living. But it can get where I'm painting to order and not having time to paint the things that I want to. I've got a lot in my head that projects that I want to do, and I haven't had the opportunity to do them because I'm painting to order. And when you're painting a commission, you're painting what somebody has told you to paint. It's not necessarily something that you're interested in.
Yeah, so I guess it's trying to find the balance between job and hobby, because they're the same in a sense, aren't they? It's still putting brush to canvas, but using a different part of the brain, I guess.
Yeah. And it's interesting sometimes. Mr. Poland challenges me, and he requires me to paint something that I've never painted before. And this one that I'm working on now, it's the first motorbike I've ever painted. And when somebody said, I want her sat on a vintage Vincent black shadow, I thought, what is that? And I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how motorbikes work. And I'm aware that people will look at that painting and think, what's she done there with that? What is that? Or what bit is that? And they will know I'm a fraud.
You're not, though.
But I'm just trying to, all I'm doing is painting what's in front of me. So sometimes it's a challenge, and it's good. It's outside of my comfort zone because I'm forced to paint something I wouldn't normally paint.
Yeah, and do you like that challenge?
Yeah, I do. It terrifies me sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine, because something like so intricate. Whereas if you just see it, like, to me, I look at a motorbike, it is just a motorbike. But if you told me that I had to draw one accurately, there's so much detail and so much. It's not like a car where it's covered by a lot of carbon fiber, a lot of it. A motorbike, you can see the intricate bits.
Yeah.
So it must be. Would you do it again?
Well, now I've done one, I'll never say, well, there's very little that I'll say no to.
Yeah.
And with my Polish person, I used to say, what? You want what? Doing what? I don't ask any questions anymore. I just think, I know it's going to be bizarre. Bring it on.
Has he ever sent you photos of what he does with them?
No, he's very, very secretive.
Oh, really?
They're all in his home. And I know that he started suspending them from ceilings so that he doesn't have to find wall space. He can look up at them. But they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's had an extension built. So he's got more room.
I want to find out who he is now. And I appreciate there's an obvious level of confidentiality. But I'm just intrigued. A, he must be a very successful person to have 48 paintings commissioned. Second thing is, what's going on in his head? Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
He buys other artists' work as well.
Wow.
But smaller pieces. And at one time I thought he perhaps owned a little boutique hotel and he was decorating them with my art, because everything's sort of, for a while he goes through themes. At the moment he's in a Japanese phase. Previously he's been in a citrus phase, where it's citrus colours, and then he went through a sunglasses phase. Everybody has to have sunglasses on.
Wow.
But he's a full-time job in his own right, so without him, who knows what I would be doing, but he was a godsend.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Have you, is there any celebrities that you've commissioned their work? Do you know?
So it's commissioned me, you mean?
Yes.
No,
yes,
that's what I would love to happen.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
I think, anybody who's...
The endorsement that comes with that would be worth a lot.
And so, because obviously I mentioned right at the beginning, you've won awards. How do you get into the mix of an award?
I didn't win Portrait Artist of the Year. I appeared in 2 series.
Oh,
I got
wow.
through. So you submit work to it, and it's a juried process. They choose out of, I think, about 2,500 people that enter. They choose 20.
Wow.
So I've got through to 2 series. Of regional heats, of the heats. You have to paint a celebrity then, and one of them chose mine to take home with them.
That's amazing.
Which was Parminda Nagra, who is in Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah.
ER. She took my portrait home with her.
Wow.
Which was nice. Yeah, it's worth it. I enter competitions purely to get my work seen, in the hope that somebody somewhere will see it and it gets seen in a wider field.
No, that makes total sense. Like, almost any exposure is good exposure in terms of your work, because you're not doing anything controversial, so anybody who sees it is a potential buyer.
Yeah, and people remember. And the portrait artists, they replay those series over and over again. There are always people that say, "Oh, I saw you on series 1. They're showing series 1 again." But because I was so bad on that program, you only get 4 hours to paint something.
Oh, really?
But
so it's like a competition.
Yeah, they set you up in a studio with the lighting. Have you ever watched it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's really it's good. It's good TV. It makes good TV.
I'll have to. I will have to watch it. Sorry, I just thought you just did it, posted it.
No,
and then they go, "That's nice," or like, "That's not nice," sort of thing.
No,
Oh, wow! So you actually had to go somewhere and
and
put under the
celebrity.
cosh sort of thing.
And they film every stroke that you're doing.
Oh, wow!
And pick it to pieces. But there are 3. You don't get to choose which. There are always 3 celebrities. You don't get to choose which celebrity you paint. You're just put in front of somebody. You can't get up close to them. And if you ever watch it, what most artists do is they'll take a tablet along with them, or a phone, and they'll take a photograph of the person up close and then put a grid onto it, and they'll paint it from the grid. Well, I'm such a tech dinosaur. They were all doing this around me, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get that grid on a laptop or whatever. So I was having to paint them from life.
Yeah. So I think you should get extra points for that.
I think so too. It's old school.
Yeah.
But because you're sharing that sitter with 3 or 4 other artists, you can't keep going up to them.
Yeah.
Because you're in their way of, you're blocking their vision, and they need to refer to it now and then. So and the celebrity is sat quite a way away from you.
There was a thing in the latest Olympics where they were doing like a handgun shot thing, and every contestant has these really high-tech glasses on, and there was the one guy who I believe won the gold. He didn't even have glasses. He just went and he was perfect.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
And were they, so who, the other contestants in that, did you have to socialize with them, or was it like or were you just like put there and you were focused and?
Oh no, we chatted. I still email. We chat to a couple of them from the second heat. The first heat, the first series, it was brand new, and they didn't know how, the production company didn't know how it was going to work, and we were all a little bit nervous. They were nervous. It was a bit of a peculiar thing. They didn't know that they were going to get the second series and third and fourth and fifth and sixth, whatever, sanctioned. So everything rested on that. So they were just sort of playing with it and finding their feet. But the second time, it's great to meet other artists and to see how they work.
Yeah, see,
It's fascinating, and to pick up tips.
Yeah, I'd love to chat with another podcaster, but I don't know. I just don't know any. But yeah, I can imagine like just discussing, I don't know. Yeah, just to talk with them about theirs would be really cool. Do you have from start to finish, in a very obviously not too detailed way, you've got a canvas.
Yeah.
Somebody has commissioned you to say, we'll use the Adele thing. What do you do next?
So if I get a commission and it's for somebody who wants themselves painted, just say you wanted to commission me to paint a portrait of you.
Yeah.
Or your wife or your children. I would come and do a photographic sitting with you and take loads and loads of about 100 images and use one of those for reference. People that are living abroad, obviously I can't do that. We've travelled to London before to do sittings and further afield, but the logistics are bonkers to go to America to take photographs of somebody. So people email me a specific image that they want me to use, and I will use that for a reference.
Yeah.
And put it onto the canvas and do whatever they want me to do with it.
But what about ones that are like celebrities holding fish?
Well, you've got to try and make it work. So Mr. Poland will send me a brief.
Oh, okay.
He will send me, because he's very, very specific. He says, I want Adele with this look on her face. I want her wearing this dress. I want her wearing this fish, holding this fish. This is the wetsuit. It has to have this design on Steve Tyler.
Wow.
So he is, and that's really useful.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
very, very specific, and it can't be any yellowfin tuna. It has to be this image. And he will send me images, and then he will send me a picture that I don't know how you do it. You know how on an iPad, sometimes you draw a circle around something to highlight something?
Yeah.
So he will say that in the circle, I want slightly to the right, upper right, whatever, lower left, positioned like this so that it looks like she's doing this.
Wow.
So he will give me very, very specific instructions, which are very useful. Other times people are happy for me. If I have a sitting and I go and take photographs, some people are happy to say, you look through them and I want it to be a surprise.
That's really nice.
Which is lovely, being given that freedom. So then I will pick something out of those hundreds, will jump out at me, and I know that is the shot, because you discuss what size canvas, what shape, whether it's a square or whether it's a rectangle. I have in my mind what the frame of that canvas looks like, and I know in my mind what position a person will look best so as to fill that space. I always picture people on a canvas.
That's amazing. That's a gift in itself.
Well, it's just a process I have to do.
Do you think that's just through repetition?
I think so, and I just know what works in what dimension.
That's amazing. And has anybody ever gone, no, that's not right, or I didn't like that?
Only one. I had to go to Sloane Square and meet two very beautiful children for a wealthy person, and wanted her daughters painted. And one was, they were both about 8 and 10 at the time, dressed in little Chanel suits.
Wow.
And one was really beautiful, and the other one was slightly less so and a little bit chunky, shall we say. And I painted her as we agreed on the shots that I was going to use, but she wanted her completely changed and slimmed down.
Oh, that's so sad.
It was sad, and I had to keep going and going. So in the end, the mum was really thrilled with it. It didn't bear any resemblance to the real little kid.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, in years to come, she's going to wonder why you did that, surely.
Yeah, I just think that's
Are
horrible.
you sort of disappointed in the way that I look naturally?
Yeah.
I thought it was really sad.
Honestly, my heart sank then a little bit because I can't help but go to my children and think, I absolutely love every single little chubby crease on them.
Yeah.
Do you know?
They're the most beautiful thing in your world, aren't they? As they are.
That's exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is sad.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic. That's the only one you think.
Well, I've never had anything anywhere that someone has said, no, don't want it.
No, that's brilliant. What's the hardest thing to paint?
What about a portrait or about anything in general? Landscape, I would say.
Would you?
I'm rubbish with landscape.
No way. I wonder why that is.
It's too willy-nilly.
Yeah.
There aren't enough confines in it. You're looking at a big, vast space, and I need things that have got a definite structure, whether it's a person or a thing or an object. So I really struggle
yours is about
with landscape.
the detail.
Yeah, I love detail.
Those intricate, because I've seen how they're pretty close up, some of your paintings. Do you feel like you get to know people as you're staring at their image as you're painting them?
Yeah, you really study them closely, don't you?
Yeah, that must be so... Yeah, I can't get my head around what it must be like staring at somebody else's face. I work with colleagues, but at least I get to turn around every now and again. But your job is to soak that in and...
Yeah, that's why it's really useful having a sitting with people, even if it's only for a couple of hours. You spend time with them and you're sort of...
getting to know them.
Looking at them in a structural way.
Because I can look at somebody and build all that in my head, but I could not convey that onto a piece of art. That's the bit that I find amazing, is that you can see something and draw something and it be so similar to what you've seen.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah,
I don't want people looking at it and saying, well, who's that?
Is there an aspect of the face that is the hardest?
Not the hardest, but the best bit is the eyes.
Yeah.
And I always start with the eyes. I do it all wrong. I'm not classically trained portrait painter.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to do is you never paint straight on a white canvas. That's a big no-no, but that's what I do.
What are you supposed to do on it?
You're supposed to put a big wash of sort of sepia or yellow ochre muddy colours, and then all of the really dark shadows, so it looks like nothing for a long time until the end.
And then it goes okay.
But I just start on a white canvas with the eyes, because when you're looking at anybody, when you're looking at me now and I'm looking at you, you're looking into my eyes and I'm looking at, so my focus is in your eyes, so it's essential you get that right.
Yeah, that's a great point. And
because
actually
it's what we pay attention to when we
Yeah, so I'm looking at behind you here, and the two images you've got, or the two paintings you've got, both times I've looked at the eyes first.
There you are.
Which shows I'm just a gentleman as well.
Well, subconsciously, we always pay attention to it. You're not aware that you gaze into people's eyes.
Yeah,
you do, because you don't talk to them looking down at the floor, do you? And
No.
looking at their feet. So it's got to be recognisable, and people will, if you get the eyes right, everything else just falls into place because you've got the most recognisable bit correct.
Yeah, because the bit that I get wrong, making it sound like I have tried drawing a portrait before, only like a doodle, but I struggle with the bit round the cheek. Down and then round down to there.
Yeah.
That's the bit I always get so wrong, and they end up looking like they've had a stroke or sorry.
Dear.
Yeah, I know. I'm creative, but not in a portrait kind of way, because that's so much detail.
So if you're a word person, or you might describe something with words.
Yeah.
I'm describing it with paint.
That's amazing.
So you're just describing what's in front of you. You might sort of use flowery vocabulary to talk about something or to talk about somebody. And I just use paint. It's just the same. It's just the same thing. I mean, people panic about it because it's paint, but it's not. It's just, you're just describing what's in front of you.
Look, you're even poetic with words. And so how long so somebody sends you a commission request, you've got nothing on, so that's how long till they receive their?
So I usually take about 2 to 3 weeks to paint it. And then you leave it to dry, and then you varnish it. And so 4 weeks is easily doable for them to arrive.
From start to finish.
For it to arrive in their
And how many
home
would you say you're working on it at a time?
I only work on one at a time.
Oh, wow. And you don't draw it first and colour it? Oh, you do. So you draw it first?
I draw everything onto the canvas.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does it look anything like what it finishes like? Or is it like a...
No, and it's worrying. Nun behind me, hot Nun's face, was a worry for a few days.
What projects would you like to do? What's on the bucket list of?
Well, I've got a sitting this week with somebody who I've been wanting to paint for a while. It's a young local person, Plymouth, and he's on a journey. He was Sasha, who was a goth, and is now Max.
Oh, wow.
And I painted Sasha, the goth, and now I want to paint Max.
Oh, my. That must be amazing.
I'm sort of naturally drawn to unconventional people.
Yeah.
I love anything unconventional. I love tattoo, pierced, punky, different types of people.
Do you think that's because there's more detail? And, you know, like you mentioned before.
Because I do love...
There's so much intricacy in a tattoo.
Nose stud.
Yeah,
I do love tattoos. My daughter is covered in tattoos. And every now and then I paint her again to document the new ones.
Do you?
Added. But I really, really love painting tattoos.
So have you got like a canvas almost start to finish, like no tattoo? And then...
I haven't got them anymore because they've been sold. So there's somebody else has bought them.
No way.
I've got a recent one I can't show you because it's in the community kitchen down in 4th Street at the moment, but I've got to get it back on Thursday. So I just love tattoos. I just love quirky people, and I just hope that somebody else will find them as interesting as I do.
Yeah, because I was going to say, other than like your commissioned work, I suppose you've got to keep things going. And do you do prints as well?
I do prints. Yeah, I've reproduced prints of celebrities that I've painted.
Yeah.
I don't produce prints until I've sold the original. Because if I was producing prints of everything before I've sold the original, nobody would ever buy the original.
Yes. That's
why
a really
would they
good point.
Why would they pay X amount for an original when they can pay 90 quid for a print?
Has there been one particular celebrity that you've absolutely loved and been really like, I've nailed that?
Bowie. Can't stop painting Bowie.
I was going to say,
so beautiful, and he had so many different looks. And Vivienne Westwood.
Oh, okay.
As well. I've got a commission actually for Vivienne Westwood in December for somebody. Yeah, I've painted both of those the same a few times. Bowie, with celebrities, I try and find, because everybody's seen the same images of Bowie with the Aladdin saying lightning strike across his face. So I won't do something that's been seen gazillions of times. I try and look for really unusual images that you don't see a lot.
That's really interesting. Because there's, I guess someone like, just springs to mind like Iggy Pop.
No, I painted Iggy Pop.
Because of his face, he's got so many creases.
Yeah, it's lovely. I love older faces, especially older men.
Yeah, Steve Tyler, I bet was fun as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's got an unusual face. So, but men, it's not fair. Men look up better as they get older because they've got crevices and lines and furrows and their faces show a life lived. I really love that. It's far easier to paint an old, wrinkly face than it is a beautiful young thing.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Because there's nothing going on in their face, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
No.
There are no blemishes, there are no folds. It's a big, smooth expanse, and that's
It's like drawing
really
an
hard
egg, isn't
to
it?
get perfect. Them to look as flawless as their skin is.
You see people in a different way to other people, don't you? So do you like walk past somebody in the street and you just be like, they are beautiful, but in a painting kind of way?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And I will go up to people and say,
can I
'cause
draw
I've
you?
always got a business card
Yeah.
on me, and explain, is it all right if I take some photographs? I won't ever see somebody and take a quick snap of them without them knowing. They're always aware of what I'm planning to do.
Yeah, of course.
When I do sittings for people that I'm choosing to paint, I pay them to sit for me. I don't just
Oh, wow.
take the mick.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
ultimately I'm going to be making money out of it.
Of course.
So it's only fair that I pay a life model rate for them to sit for an hour. I've never had anybody say no. What do you want to do that for? People are usually quite flattered that I think they're interesting enough to
absolutely.
be painted.
And I know some people don't like the way they look, but the way that you portray their beauty, it's fantastic. I can't understand why you would want to turn it down no matter how you felt about yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like-
but some people might feel awkward about themselves.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm very fortunate and I am just beautiful. So too beautiful to be drawn.
No such thing. There's no such thing.
Have you ever just started drawing and ended up like making up a human, like a face?
Yeah, but I've got no imagination. I'm rubbish. I've
That's
got
so
zero
interesting.
imagination, which is why I admire my Mr. Poland, because he's got shed loads of it. If I could have just an ounce of his creative mind. Because I'm a creative person in that I have a skill.
Absolutely.
And I know how to convey what's in front of me, but I can't just think of something bonkers.
You couldn't have, think of something random to draw.
No.
So what about technology now?
Oh.
How is that? Because obviously these days with AI, what you've just described to Mr. Poland, you can literally type in and that image will come up.
If I didn't want to buy a David Hockney, but I wanted something in the style of David Hockney, AI could produce that image for me really easily and I could get it printed onto a canvas.
Yeah. Has that made it tough, do you think?
It is what it is, isn't it?
Because there's something about original.
Yeah, I don't worry about it because regardless of how easy that process is and how much cheaper it is, there will always be somebody that wants a handcrafted, hand-skilled piece of work. There will always be somebody that would prefer the real deal.
Yeah, and if you call a company up, 99% of the time you're pressing the button to speak to a human. You're trying to get through the artificial intelligence bit so that you can speak to a person, so you can explain yourself. AI is really good at producing content, but no context. Everything is black and white. There's no grey area. It's yes or no. So you cannot beat the human touch.
No, you can't.
And, if you can get somebody to write sing you a song about exactly what you want now. But if you were to ask Bruce Springsteen to do it, there is no comparison, is there?
So I can see, I don't think that it's going to take over the world, and it might make lots of areas much production easier, but there'll always be a human element, and we need that, and everybody wants that, really. I can't see, it's not going to replace everything that we do.
Yeah. Is there any celebrities that you've got on your list that you want to do images of that you haven't yet?
So I want to. I'm always thinking of who I want to do. I only paint celebrities that I'm interested in for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't paint purely because I know something is
They're
going to
popular.
sell.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Because I was going to say that would be quite easy to, not easy for me, but easy for you to do, just to pick whoever's hot topic at the minute.
Elvis and Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
They would go just like that. But I don't want to paint Elvis. I don't want to paint Marilyn Monroe. So I paint people that appeal to me for whatever strange reason. And sometimes they're a bit quirky and unusual and they don't sell because nobody else is interested in them like I am. But that's okay.
I like the fact that you've got to be different to make these things, haven't you?
Mm.
And and has anybody ever asked to come and watch you do it?
Yeah.
That sounds like out of context. It's weird, but
I do. Every year I go to Plymouth High and do a workshop with the A-level students. When they get to portraiture in their curriculum, I take a lot. I'll start something and take it along and talk to them about the process. I take all my paints and squeeze out. I've got what I call the skin bag, and it's all of the colours that I put in skin. It's always exactly the same colours, regardless of whether who I'm painting is black or white. It's the same set of colours, and it's quite a large selection of colours, and people are always amazed how many colours there are in flesh. And I always lay them out in exactly the same order, the OCD, on my palette. And I'll talk them through that because none of them, or very rarely, have used oils before.
Yeah, so that was another question I was going to ask. What do you use?
Oil paint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried other things and found oil painting?
Yeah, I just like oil paint. It's sexy. There's something sexy about it. I like the smell and the texture, and it's silky and it suits what I do, and I wouldn't deviate because I know that works. So
that's brilliant.
Why waste time?
Of course.
So I give them a little demo once I've squeezed it all out and show and hope that they'll recognise who. It's always a celebrity that I take along with me.
Of course.
And I say, anybody recognise this person? Say Judi Dench was the last one I took. So it's a half-painted Judi Dench, and then I'll demonstrate a little bit of it, and then I'll say to one of them, right, who wants to carry on with it? Finish it for me.
Wow.
I think, I can't. Oh, no, we can't do that. What if we go wrong? What if I make a mess of it? And I said, well, paint over it, just. And then after watching me, one brave soul will carry on with it, and the others have all got portraits they've started, and I go around and sort of help them if they're stuck.
Wow.
So that's really nice. Do that every year. I'm about to get another email from them. It's usually this time of year I go around, and I go to Barn Barton as well with the little tackers that are about 6.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And talk about what I do and take a load of paintings. They usually take half a dozen with me, and they go, oh, thanks, and ask loads and loads of questions.
Yeah.
And they're lovely little kids. And one of them asked me, they always put up their hands and ask you questions. And once asked me if I'd ever met Leonardo da Vinci. No, I know I look older than you. I'm not hundreds and hundreds of years old. No, I've never met him.
Did you have any inspirations of artists, like influences?
My art teacher is my biggest influence, Vincent Wilson.
And when is your next exhibition? Have you got one planned?
No, I haven't.
Is location important to you when you do your exhibitions?
I could make loads of money if I lived in London and was an artist in London.
But by the time you get
I don't want to
there...
live in London. I'm happy where I am. It's difficult to get your work seen. This is something that artists really struggle with. You're not going to sell to a wide audience unless you can get your work seen. And because nobody's got any money at the moment, people can't afford to buy original art, and the galleries are really struggling. Thank goodness I'm in a gallery now. I'm in a physical gallery in Plymouth, which is Canvas Gallery on Ebrington Street, which is a lovely new gallery. So that's nice that I can get work seen. But apart from that, I rely on people seeing it online.
Yeah, word of mouth and sharing. And you said we've both discussed not being particularly good at social media. How much of a big part is that now, do you think?
It's big. It's a necessary evil. I'm rubbish at it, and I'm aware that I should spend more time on it, but I'd rather be painting than sat putting things on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's very needy of your time, and if you don't post something every day, you see your followers dwindle and dwindle and dwindle, and I'm not particularly worried about that. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But my kids are always saying, oh, for God's sake, Mum, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do what they called when you do little mini films, reels. I don't know how to do a reel.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll try and film myself varnishing something and it's all shaky and all over the place. And then you might get me swearing at it on. And then the other day I was varnishing something and trying to put it on Instagram. And Steve came in with a cup of something. I said, shush, I'm filming. And then I didn't know how to get rid of that. So the ridiculous, shaky, badly lit film of me trying to varnish something with my left hand, telling him to shut up. And
Oh, that's
but that's the quality we're talking about.
That's brutal. That's brutal honesty in your work, though. That's what real life is about. So there we have it, another great episode. Thank you so much for listening. And we've got so much more to come on this show, so please keep listening, please keep sharing. I really, really appreciate it.